Okay. Sorry, where was I? I was talking about why we're here today, right? We're here to share experiences and the different challenges that women face in technology. Before we go into the depth of the conversation, I would like to have the three other panelists introduce themselves, starting with the partner in this webinar, Dr. Amina Sambo, who is the founder of MS Foundation, and She4Tech initiative is an initiative of that foundation. Dr. Amina.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Amina Sambo, and I am a PhD holder in the field of computing science, artificial intelligence specifically, and I've done a lot of work in innovation, strategy, and policy. I look forward to discussing with other amazing women, and I look forward to learning from them as well and the rest of the audience. Thank you.
Funto, you want to go next? Or Farida, or Anu, whoever?
Yeah, I'm good to go. Hi, everyone. I'm Funto Akibusain, a product manager. I have over 20 years plus years of work experience in technology, computing, working across different industries. I'm also the founder of a community called Product Manager Africa. It's a community of product managers where I'm committed to elevating product management and technology in Africa. And I do this through this community by helping aspiring PMs, mentoring them directly, and also preparing them for opportunities, and also getting them internships with technology partners. The reason why I started doing this was to make the path easier for aspiring product managers, and also to give them a platform which will enable them have access to leaders and mentors. So that's me in a nutshell. Thank you.
Anu or Farida?
I'll go. My name is Anu Augustine. I'm based in Cape Town, South Africa. But I'm just hearing echoes.
Dr. Sambo, but she has muted now. So.
Okay, I'm based in Cape Town, South Africa, and I am excited to be here sharing my journey in technology. So I have over 20 years of experience in the tech space. By profession, I'm an electronics engineer and worked as a developer in various software companies in Cape Town, South Africa. And then I started Nedrock, and Nedrock is a product management training and consulting company. And I find that my passion is using technology to solve real world problems. And that's what I love doing. And that's what I hope other entrepreneurs and other organizations do, basically take a tech product to market. And also in my spare hours, I do nurture a lot of women entrepreneurs and help them take technology product to market. And I love supporting them. I love spending time with them. I love growing them. So that's me.
Farida, thank you, Anu.
Hello, everyone. I'm Farida Lawal. I have over over 15 years experience in the IT sector. I'm an active member of Computer Professionals of Nigeria and the Institution of Engineers and Technology. Thank you. I look forward to mentoring
Farida, you're breaking, but I think
and encouraging innovation technology industry.
Okay.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can now. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get to why we're discussing this again. Historically, if you look at the numbers, it is difficult for tech companies to have a diverse workforce. Women make up like 40% of the world's corporate workforce, but in tech careers, they represent 30% of the workforce and are largely in administrative roles and almost absent in leadership roles. So why is this the case? Part of the solution is to talk about the problems and understand some of the experiences women have, and also brainstorm on some of the ways that we can effect change in this area. We as organizations, as team members, can provide avenues and be good support systems for the women around us and the next generation of women to come. And I thank you for being here. Again, there are men who have joined this call today. It is good to have men to advocate for women as well, because men form the larger part of leadership in the workforce, and they also can stand as mentors for women who aspire to grow their careers in the tech industry. So thank you for being here. Without delaying, let's start with the first discussion point. We all have heard from the panelists about their extensive careers in tech, but we need to know as women, what inspired you to begin a career in tech? Let's start with Dr. Amina.
Thank you, Nuretu. Thank you for putting me on the spot. Yes, so what inspired me to do tech? So I think growing up, right from the time I was in secondary school, I've always had a problem-solving mindset. I've also always loved mathematics. So that kind of came naturally. I'm the kind of person that when you're looking at the art courses and you had to be writing and doing things, I used to struggle. And moving on from secondary school to the university, I wanted to actually study medicine. But I had some challenges around the time I was getting into school because of the normal ASU strike and all that. And my brother, I come from a quite academic family. So my brother kind of inspired me into going into technology, specifically into computing science. At the beginning, I kind of resisted, but because I didn't really have exposure to it. But being a young girl at that time and understanding that you would make the best advice, I took it and I started the journey into computing. And that was it. I fell in love with it when I started, and seeing the possibilities, the challenges, and I realized most of the skills that were kind of innate in me, and that seeking mindset that I had kind of just fell into place, and I didn't stop from there, and I just kept going. Thank you.
Okay, Farida.
Hello again, everyone. So as a child, actually, I've always been interested in computers and how they work. So I did my A-levels, interestingly. I actually did chemistry, physics, biology, mathematics, but I was in my second year of A-levels when I decided, okay, I think I'm going to go for IT, because I realized it's an ever-evolving career path, and everything in the world is actually ruled by IT. So I decided to start that, and I realized, okay, programming, there's network, there's like different paths you can go into. So that really stimulated me, and I decided, okay, let me go for IT. And it's been interesting so far, because I remember when I started university, the year 2000, we were actually at a lecture and we had to do some research. So the lecturer is like, okay, there's something you can use to do your search. There's something called Google. And we had never heard of Google then. That was, I think Google started in '98. So this was the year 2000. So I was like, wow. So the search engine, that was the first time I ever heard of Google. It's like, you know, there are a lot of possibilities and you always learn, you're ever growing. So it's very interesting. And then basically all the apps, everything you do is based on computing. The whole world is one huge network. So that was my inspiration mostly. Thank you.
Anu?
Yeah, so for me, I come from an Indian family, and I don't know how many of you know Indian culture. So you're born either to be an engineer or a doctor, usually. So my parents felt like, yeah, I know you've got to be an engineer. And I think that shaped a lot of my thinking. My dad was a maths teacher, and yeah, and I did like maths and science, and that was my strongest side in school. So yeah, it was kind of, okay, that's the option I go with. Unlike kids these days who have many options, I think those days you listen to your parents and that's the way you do it, right? So I went and did electronics engineering. And when I went down that route, there was some electives, and I really enjoyed it. And I think the reason why I enjoyed it is that you could type in something on the computer and you can say hello world, and it, you know, it gave you feedback immediately. And I love that. I think I'm a pretty impatient person, and when something happens quickly, it gives me a lot of joy. And so I love the programming aspect and decided, actually, this is what I want to do. And that continued. Yeah, and my first job was in programming. I've had to put a lot of extra effort to learn programming in the side because my main topic was electronics and engineering. So I think that immediate feedback, and then kind of realizing at the next level, wow, this thing is actually quite powerful. You can change people's lives. And you know, I spent a lot of time in Africa and India, and seeing the impact of technology on people's lives kind of motivated me. I always liked thinking about the user and the customer and how technology, you know, has an impact on their life. And that also was something that drew me to the technology space. Okay.
Thank you. Funjo?
Yes. So for me, I had a business background thanks to my mom, because my mom was lecturing. My parents are academics as well. My dad is a professor and all that. And so my mom thought it was good for me to study economics. In fact, she filled my JAMB form and just filled everything. And I just found myself in the economics department. But I think I'm just like Dr. Sambo. I don't like writing a lot of things. I just like to write like 4 lines and I move on from there. And I thought, was it because I couldn't speak English? I didn't know what the problem was, but I just realized that I loved math. I did absolutely well in math. I didn't like biology very much, so I couldn't do medicine. So that was out of it. But anyway, I remember I wanted to go and I wanted to now travel to do my master's. And my dad said, oh, just do an MBA, you have economics. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing an MBA. I want to do computer science. And he's like, why do you want to do computer science? I said, because then Yahoo had just come out. It was so colorful, the colors. I was like, I just want to know what is behind Yahoo and how they built it and what's going on back there. And he was quite upset with me. He didn't understand why he would waste his money. I said, Daddy, please just allow me to do my MSc in computer science. And I did it. I moved back to Nigeria, and there were not many rules for women to code. There just wasn't space. So I just went back into the bank. I found it really boring. But eventually I started to gravitate towards tech. Tech started to pick up in Nigeria, and I started in telecoms. I moved myself into the product team, started to work with the engineers building software. And I found out that I actually enjoyed that part of work, understanding complexities and trying to simplify them. And I'll say that actually helped me to find myself. It was like I finally found what I wanted to do, which was product. Well, it wasn't product then, but it was just something that I liked. So yeah, and since then I haven't looked back. It's been quite an interesting journey. And eventually I did do an MBA, and my father still said, so you see, you still did the MBA, but it was at my own time. And it was just to solidify the business side and say, okay, now you have an MSc in computer science, just do an MBA as well, so that you have that management thing. Because I mean, I'm a tech person, I also like management as well. So I'll say that was how I found my passion for tech. I also have a brother who is really good in technology, codes and all that. So we exchange and rub minds, and I'll say that's just basically how I got into tech, and I absolutely love it. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much. So for me, it's interesting that the topic for this year's International Women's Day is Break the Bias. And much like Funto, I didn't start off, my first degree was in psychology, and I thought I would end up being a therapist, right? I thought that that would be the career trajectory. I still do some of that, I know right now, by coaching people, I think. But I somehow found myself in tech. Well, I later did pursue education, my master's, my PhD, as well as several certification courses in technology. But I bring the topic of bias as an important thing, because when I started my first role in technology, it was looked at as, oh, but you didn't study computer science. Why are you here? Right? So there are a lot of people who face that kind of bias. So technology at its core, it's not about coding. It's about critical thinking and problem solving, right? And anyone can be a critical thinker and a problem solver. So part of what I realized is technology is a beautiful thing in that it has many facets. There are so many ways you can impact the bottom line having a career in tech. You can be a change leader through transformation programs, systems change, process change, a business partner. There's a place for technology everywhere, right? Funtua is leading a team of product managers now. You have business analysts, you have data analysts. These are not courses that were available in university back in 2000, so to speak, right? So people had to pursue these interests on their own. And there's no such thing as a software developer existing on their own in an organization. They need an analyst. They need a business process writer, which is a business analyst who didn't study technology, so to speak, right? So we need to also, as leaders, break down the barrier that says you have to be a computer engineer or a software developer to have a career in tech. Technology is available to everybody, and we need to encourage women, regardless of what their degree or academic background is, to explore other opportunities of building careers in tech. Because that, like I said, at its core, it's about critical thinking and problem solving. So that leads me to my next point, which is bias, right? Dealing with imposter syndrome. What are your experiences and how were you able to overcome it? For me, I told you that I felt like it was an exclusive club, right? You had to code, which I eventually learned how to do that, right? But when I started, it felt like if you didn't know how to code, you're not in tech. So it made me feel insecure at the time about my capacity within the team that I worked with, because everyone was an engineer. So what are your experiences? Let's start with Anu, with imposter syndrome as a woman in the workplace in a technology space.
Yeah, so this is something I still have, right? I've got 20 years of experience, and I run my own business. And every time I have a meeting and I'm aware, whoa, okay, there's 10 men and 2 women, it's like, it hits me really, wow, okay, I really need to prepare for this meeting. I need to work hard, etc. So I don't, I always wonder, will I ever get past this? But nowadays what I do is I use it for positive energy, if I can put it that way, is guess what? I have worked, and like me, all of you have worked hard to reach where you are, right? And we've all achieved some level of success. And that does not come without hard work. And we need to celebrate that success and use that energy to settle those doubts that pop up in your head. And one thing I found useful is that, like for the company that I'm running, I've got a big, bold vision for it. Like 10 years from now, this is what I want to achieve. And it kind of keeps me awake at night. But when I think about that, it gives me the motivation to get past that imposter syndrome, saying, listen here, I've reached this far. And that was pretty much working hard, and I've convinced people to reach where I am today. And I can still do it, and I can continue to do it. So that's one thing I do, is having that big, bold vision and using that as a positive energy to counter that, the doubts in my head. And I see it as almost a positive thing versus a negative thing these days. And I'd encourage all of you women to do the same. The other thing that I love doing these days is to write down your achievements, because I think as women, we're not very good at celebrating or speaking to our strengths. We always doubt our skills. We are forever doing that. And I realized actually I need to be a good role model, and I need to always remember these are the things that I've achieved. Let me write it down, because we tend to forget. We tend to, like, all the negative things tend to pop up rather than the things that you've achieved. So when you write it down, you kind of realize, geez, I've done a lot. And again, that is the positive energy. It helps you with that positive energy, and also helps you be a better role model, right? So I'm sure a lot of you are mothers, and actually a lot of you are mothers to girls. And I've got 2 girls, and when the girls reach their teenage years, I realized I've got to be a role model. I need to motivate them, and the best way I can do that is celebrate my successes, and that will motivate them. So those are kind of the things that I do, is setting a bold vision, recognizing I've worked hard and not be shy about it. I'm going to stand on my 2 legs and be proud of what I've achieved. I'm not going to second guess that. I've done a lot, and it's taken hard work. Set a vision, and then write down, journal your successes, and that kind of will push you forward, and use that imposter syndrome for positivity, not negativity.
Yeah, very, very key points there. I take three major things away from what you said, and these are things that I also always speak about. Is, as women, we tend to shy away from speaking for our work, right? We tend to shy away for advocating for ourselves when we achieve things. It's always, well, when you're speaking with a woman in the workplace, is the team did this, right? Me and the team, me and my team, right? You always feel like you're taking away something from others by standing for what you have done. Well, if you're in a meeting or in a boardroom, a man walks in and says, I did, regardless of who helped him do it, right? He would say, I was able to do blah, 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 blah. Yes, it's good to acknowledge your team, but it also is very important to stand for your work. And another thing you mentioned is documenting your work, which is writing, whether it's through journaling or through putting it out there, what you have done. It is a reminder for you. It's a confidence builder. It is also a way of mentoring by proxy, right? People see your work and they see themselves in you, and they see the possibility of them being able to achieve what you've done. So I like all the points you've raised. Farida, any experience with imposter syndrome, and how are you able to overcome that?
Basically, not that much. I think at the beginning of my career, mostly you find out you're maybe like the only girl in a team of guys, or maybe they're more or less 2 girls. But as time goes by, you see there are more and more women. So I think at times you feel as if, okay, you have to work twice as hard to prove yourself compared to your male colleagues. And usually when, for example, there's a problem and you need to go and resolve it, and you turn up and people are like, oh, it's you. Basically, they're surprised it's a woman. But by the time you actually resolve the issue and they're like, oh, wow, so you actually know what you're doing, kind of, they're surprised because they expect to meet a male instead. So basically, I think with time, this has gradually reduced. And currently we have I think we have more women than men who are at my workplace, like in IT. They're more women, but basically what you find out is most of the men do all the networking, what is it called? The hard stuff of servers, but then there are a lot of women that do that as well. Programming things as if, okay, it's a man's world, but there are a lot of women doing that as well. So I think it's getting better. But as I said, you have to work twice as hard to prove yourself. You always feel as if you have to prove yourself to everyone. But it's getting better. Thank you.
Dr. Amina.
Okay, thank you. It's just so interesting how you listen to other women speak, and it sounds like they're just speaking right at the top of what is in your brain. or experiences that you've shared. For me, I think around the initial time I started my career, I felt a lot of stereotyping. Um, Starting from even the way I dressed, there was a lot of finger pointing. Socializing, you're expected because you're a techie, you're supposed to be socializing in a specific way. You're supposed to be in jeans and t-shirt. You're supposed to have this funny arrogance about yourself and things like that. And also there were many platforms for networking, like hanging out after office, or outside office and things like that. So I didn't kind of typically fit into that kind of setting. So it was a lot of struggle for me, right? And that kind of came down, even trickling down to when I became more middle management and even top management. Towards the end of that, towards recently, I believe the other things I'll be speaking about would speak to what builds those kind of confidence. I kind of now just let go and allowed everybody to think. I tried so hard to, to change the way things are. And I just got tired and I stopped. Okay. And I was happy with every enjoy surprising people, because I would walk into a conference, both locally and internationally, and they are waiting for a Dr. Sambo Magaji, PhD in AI, to come and speak. I don't know whether they're expecting wings or horns. And then I walk in and nobody even recognizes that I'm the person or gives any importance to me. And then I'm happy to sit at with the audience until when I'm called up. And then people go like, oh, so it's you. I didn't know. I didn't think that. I actually changed into enjoying that even more than trying to prove myself. I kind of just like relaxed into it. So people are always easier, happier calling you Hajia. Yeah, they find it difficult to call you doctor, but your counterparts that probably got the PhD much later than you, or things like that, or even engineers and things like that, they're quick at giving them that accolade and acknowledging them, and not you. So, secondly, I think what kind of helped me in overcoming this is when I had an opportunity to lead a very critical office. So for 4 years, I was leading the Office for ICT Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And at the very beginning, a lot of people came straight to me to my face and told me that you cannot do it. This is not your space. We're the ones that build this. Who do you think you are? You just come with your AI PhD. This is innovation, all that pushback. And I kind of took it as a challenge, and that motivated me to see that I proved them wrong. And that experience, I think, kind of helped in building the confidence, because I could see that we got to a point where they couldn't even deny the progress. They could actually feel the impact. And they even, a lot of them kind of even acknowledged that they were wrong, or they were too quick to judge. So going back to what Farida said, sometimes it's just to allow, just to work hard, twice as hard, being a woman, yeah, to make sure that you prove yourself. Um, I would say this platform for the She4Tech initiative is quite deliberate, with all this stereotyping and things. I kind of now saw the need to actually help other women, counter and address these challenges by actually bringing amazing women here, and going to them, reaching out to them through some sort of career talks and engagements to actually share simple stories. Look at the way we're speaking, we're not speaking Java or PHP or Python. These are stories from our heart. We can speak the whole day about this is because we lived it, we're passionate for it, and sharing it can actually really, really motivate others. So we're standing here as role models. We're not saying we're the best and we're the only ones. We're just saying we're bringing ourselves however we are and presenting ourselves as we are, and somebody could be motivated. Finally, I think it was very important to kind of, as you go along, and I see it in a lot of women when they speak and share their stories, we kind of build security within ourselves over time. And as well, match it up with some sort of humility. So you come across as someone that you can be kind of approachable and for people to get inspired by you. Thank you.
That was lovely, Dr. Sambo. Funto, imposter syndrome, your experience. I know you shared some with me, share some with everyone.
Yes. Yeah, for me, it's been a lot of, I think my imposter syndrome in a way has also impacted me so badly that I had to get a coach just to help me to go through that. It affected me on my job because when people are talking and contributing, I just keep quiet because I feel that if I speak, I'm probably speaking rubbish, right? And it took me a lot. In fact, I had to quit my last job because of that, to be honest. And it was after that that I got a coach. But you know what happened? After that, after I quit the role, I just put my CV out there because I wanted to start applying again for work. And I got about 50 recruiters reaching out to me. I was like, wait, what are they seeing on my CV? What is it about me? Because I didn't think I was good enough. I thought I had failed as a person and I just wasn't good enough. But what I'll say helped me, first of all, was actually get it. I'm still using that coach up till now because it's still a battle for me. But he's helped me to recognize my strengths, the areas that I'm good at. And as Anu said, I started to write down my daily achievements. Daily, I would write it down, no matter how simple it is. I write it down. And I remember one day I was saying something, and you know, your children also look at you. My daughter said, Mommy, stop talking about the past. Look into the future and stop talking, that part is gone. Look ahead and be positive. I was like, okay, a 14-year-old girl telling me this, so I need to work on myself. So imposter syndrome is real. It's real. I run a community product manager Africa. I see other people that run communities. I see how active they are on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. I'm very inactive. I feel like I don't have anything to say. I don't put myself out there. You won't even know I'm the face of PM Africa. That is how much that imposter syndrome is affecting me. And people will tell me, Funto, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? But for me, it's a gradual thing. One of the things I've done as well is to surround myself with women that think the same way I do. And so every quarter, we also strategize. We actually set out our vision boards for the year, very, very ambitious vision boards. We set out and we actually sit down and all of us strategize around it. And that also helps to show me that, okay, when we talk about, all of us talk about our fears, we talk about our dreams, we talk about what we want to achieve, but at the same time, how our fears are limiting us. And we also encourage each other to build each other up. And that has also helped me as well to know that when you have the right people around you as well, who are also, women, obviously, because we understand, as you said, we will say the team, I won't say I. My brother said, he also, because he leads a tech team as well, that women will never come and say, I need a raise, right? They'll just be working very hard that, okay, maybe you will notice that I'm working really hard. But the man will come and tell you, look, I've done A, B, C, D, give me a raise. But a woman will never do it. And so those kind of things I'm learning now. I speak more now, even if it's rubbish, I don't care. Anytime there's a meeting, I'm very vocal, I just speak. And I see that people are listening. So that means that I'm making sense. But of course, before I speak, I would have read and researched a lot so that when I'm coming into that meeting, I'm coming in with informed and I'm armed with all the information. So as Farida said as well, you have to be double prepared for something that probably a man will just go in there and just speak. But a woman will go and read because we don't want to be wrong. I think we're just cut out that way. So, I mean, in a nutshell, I'm still dealing with it every day. I would not say I've overcome imposter syndrome, but I'm taking it day as it comes, and just knowing that I'm not alone in this journey, and somehow I'll be fine. So that basically is my story around imposter syndrome.
Thank you very much. And again, there are things you said that resonate very well with me. And I think for me, like I think I've told you this before, I was able to overcome imposter syndrome. I don't think I have it now because I feel I've gotten to the level of where I can speak for my work. And that is because of what you said, getting a coach, which is why mentorship and coaching is important. Leaning on others is important. Continuous learning is important. And I want us to also be aware that every single woman on this panel is a leader in her field. We are all tech entrepreneurs or leaders in our workplace. So for us to be vulnerable here, to share the challenges that exist, is gems of knowledge that you might not get on your daily basis of working with people, right? You would see your boss just doing her thing or his thing. Men too have imposter syndrome. They just know how to, it's a man's world and they're used to getting their way. So they kind of just suck it up and do it, while we are used to, deliberating in our heads and listening, and we're constantly thinking about how our words can affect others and how our work or can be perceived as negative and whatnot. But I do acknowledge and admire the things that Funto has said, which is why, I have a podcast called the Career Gems Podcast, which is for this purpose, the whole bias thing, right? And the imposter syndrome, to bring forth women that are able to speak about not just the finished products where we see them as successful, or the beginning product of how they start, but the messy middle that people don't really talk about. And that messy middle is things like this, things that you deal with in your mind and in your space, where you feel self-doubt, but you still push through, and people sometimes see you and want to be you, but they don't always understand that being you is not as easy as it looks. So I'm very proud of you for sharing your thoughts here, for sharing your knowledge here. And I also encourage that we speak to the women within our space, whether it's our children or our female colleagues, or sometimes male colleagues. Like I said, men too have imposter syndrome. They just know how to present because they are automatically accepted, right? And we feel that doubt. So thank you for sharing. And I know there's a lot of vulnerability in sharing, but the rewards in sharing are greater than the impact of the vulnerability. So this leads to the next topic. At what point in your career did you realize that there's need for you to pass your knowledge on to other people? Because I know that this panel was specifically selected because these are women that are always dedicated to giving and sharing with others. So what is it, at what point in your career did you realize that I don't need to keep quiet about my experiences, or I don't need to keep quiet about the challenges I'm facing or the opportunities that are out there? Because sometimes it's not always problems, right? There are opportunities, and we're used to men sharing their opportunities with each other. There's a contract there, there's this there, there's this there, they tell each other, right? But women tend to kind of keep things to themselves, sometimes because of this doubt, or sometimes because they feel like, the reality is sometimes women feel that there's only space for one or a few, and bringing others might kind of mess things up, which is it's kind of the bias that we need to shake off. So at what point in your career did you feel like it was necessary for you to be in a mentorship role, for you to be able to guide other young women to be, in spaces that you are now? Anu, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. I think in my life there were two things that triggered it, and I wish I had realized earlier. I'll be honest with you. One is when my daughter was born. As women, we take great responsibility when we have babies and you see them grow. And then I realized, geez, my girls are going to enter the workplace that I work in. And if we don't do something about it, it's going to continue, right? It's nobody, if we don't take accountability over it, it's not going to change. So they always say, be the change you want to see, right? So that's one thing. And then the second thing is something that happened at work, and I'm going to openly share it. It was after my second daughter was born, and I was on maternity leave for 3 months, and South Africa is 3 months. And I returned to work, and I really struggled. I promise you, it was, I always thought about my little girl at home, and she would be needing me, and she'd be crying and all that. So, you know, we are in the tech space. I do believe that we should be given an opportunity to work from home. And I felt quite strongly about it, if not full time, at least so that I can avoid the traffic and be at home early to take care of my little one and, you know, do what I need to do. And then I'll still do my 8 hours. And then what I did is I went and asked for permission for it from a manager who was a male. And guess what? He said, no, you can't. You need to sit in the office and work 8 hours. And at the same time, I know of a male coworker who didn't ask for permission. And he didn't work 8 hours at work, and he went home. And then I was like, wow, how unfair is this? And if I'm not going to speak out loudly about it, we as women feel like we need to ask for permission, we need to do the right thing. And when we do that, we're not treated fairly. So, and then I saw the same thing happen to other women. And I'm like, there's a pattern here, right? So we've got to change it. We've got to change the narrative. And then I saw other female product managers struggle at work for the same reasons that I used to struggle at work, but I've overcome that, and I'm not scared of those things anymore. And then I realized, actually, you know what? I need to do something about it. I need to put my energy and effort behind it. And that's what I'm going to do. And, you know, as often I feel like one thing I've got to speak out about as women are the worst supporters of each other at work sometimes. It's terrible to see. And I also saw that, you know, when you send your girls to girls' school, you also see a lot of that. Girls are the worst supporters of each other. And all those things kind of came together, and I was like, we need to action on this. And that's kind of where I am in life. And I find a lot of peace in encouraging women to stand up, to speak out, and to help them achieve success and get past the blockers that exist in our minds. Because very often the other thing I find is we ourselves block ourselves. We have put blockers in our head. Nobody else does it. And that's why we don't progress. So let's not do that, ladies. Let's not do that. So yeah, that's kind of my trigger points.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of those, but let me hear from Dr. Amina.
Okay, thank you for that. Unlike Anu,
Dr. Amina, I think you're on two devices, so there's an echo when you speak.
okay. How are we now? Same?
Yes, there's still an echo.
How about now?
Okay, now it's fine.
Okay, thank you. I apologize. I'm on two devices because I want to make sure that if one fails, I can still engage. So I was starting to say that on Anu, I was a bit disturbed because I also started having, I have two girls at the beginning, right? And my kids didn't really see my career as their go-to kind of thing. Okay, yeah, they didn't see it like that. So it was more from other parents, like friends, family, co-workers, and other family members. So I would have my niece write about me when they ask her to write about someone who inspires her the most. Okay, and not my kids. And I was a bit disturbed at the beginning, because the parent would always want to be the first role model. I guess I'm a role model in other things, but not in the career kind of thing until lately, and I'll share. So it was a lot of people reaching out to me to ask for advice for their kids, to ask for advice for themselves. How can we do this? My daughter wants to study computing. How can you help? What she should be looking at? How did you do it? So that kind of made it very apparent. So I started apparent that I needed to, start reaching out and start speaking more. And having the opportunity to actually lead an office that was working with youth, youth across Nigeria, to support them in innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship was a great opportunity to build experience and to actually build confidence. So that kind of reached. So I started off when I started getting this request from people to create a small WhatsApp group, because I was very busy. I didn't know how to help. I some of the questions I didn't have like the answers at my fingertips, and my generation is way up there, and things are changing so fast. So I just felt that having a small WhatsApp group of any parent or anybody that wanted support or questions, and you could say, how would you continue mentoring my daughter and all that. So I created a small WhatsApp group, and I had other people within the network that I was working with in different generations. So we would just create conversations around how to support each other. And although that was not too sustainable, that's when the idea of the She4Tech initiative kind of came together. So it's discussing with, for example, you, Nuratu, to say, just giving you a call and to say, look, I think we need to start doing something. And then I get, oh, I've already started doing something. So it's a lot of that, reaching out to people. And apparently, we reconnected, for example, with Funto through this talk that we're going to give. And we later found out that we were actually introduced so that we can work together as women to see how we can. So it's picking up on that network and pushing it and seeing that we don't really need to do it. We can initiate it as an individual, but we have access to everybody at our fingertips. You can check within the chat box, people saying that it's inspiring them. They want to have their kids be in tech, So it's open for anybody who wants to join. And like you mentioned at the very beginning, Nuratu, it's not only about women. Men also have similar challenges, and men also make deliberate efforts to support women that are having challenges, are having all these imposter syndromes and all those challenges. So yes, I think it kind of came gradually based on building experience, based on people reaching out. And I just felt any opportunity that I get, I'll go and speak. And like Funto said, yes, I'll make mistakes. Yes, things would go wrong. Yes, I'll come back home and beat myself and say, oh, why did I say this? I should have said it. I could have, It doesn't really matter. When you listen to other people too, you realize they also make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes. So I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I really like what you and Funto said about it being okay to make mistakes, right? Nothing has to be perfect as long as the message is being passed across. I know even when we were discussing about this idea, we were saying, yeah, it's necessary to have these type of platforms where we tell our stories and where we inspire others. It doesn't have to be this well-branded, thought out experience, as long as the core of it is, the meat and potatoes of it is we're talking about our experience in tech, and we're hopefully inspiring or motivating other women to be in this space. Farida, do you have anything to add before we move on to the next?
Actually, what inspired me to think of mentoring, which I haven't really started into doing that much yet, but it's actually my cousins. A lot of my cousins into computer science. They study computer science in university, and most of them are like, okay, because I did computer science, and basically look at my career and they're inspired. They're like, okay, I want to be like you when I grow up. So basically, I give them advice. Do these modules. This is what you do, stuff like that. And I also realized that we, where I work, we usually have IT students. We have students who come and do their industrial attachment. And most of the times, the males, the guys, are more confident than the ladies. You have maybe like 3 guys, 1 girl, and you find she's very quiet, meek. You actually have to encourage her to do work. You have to force them. Some of them are not even really interested at all in learning because they're actually there to get hands-on experience. But you notice that the guys are more into it. So I think girls need a lot of mentoring to achieve their full potential. And then another thing also, as a woman, I think Anu mentioned something like that. you feel as if a lot of your bosses don't actually take you that seriously. For example, if you say, oh, I'm not coming to work, I have a doctor's appointment for my child, stuff like that. So by instead of them to actually call you and find out, okay, what's going on, are you okay, or is the child okay, by the time you come back to work the next day, or they just look at you funny, like, you know, you made it up. But if a guy does the same thing, nothing happens. So there's a lot of stuff we need to work on, but the mentoring is a very, very good initiative. I think it will give a lot of girls confidence and motivate them to work to, what is it called, achieve their potential. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wow, this conversation, we can go on and on. It's getting exciting as we're getting closer to time. It's getting more and more exciting, and it feels like there's so much more to say. However, we can only do what we can for today, and then subsequently have other creative avenues for discussion. But yeah, so the next thing, which is an important thing. I don't know if Dr. Sambo and Farida, being in the public sector, have some major experiences in this area. But I know Funto, Anu, and myself, having worked in international organizations, have experienced this and have seen it happen. For me personally, I've been in positions where I recruit, and then women come, and when it's time for salary negotiations, right? In the tech world, they say, whatever the budget is for this role, or tell me what the budget is for this role. That lack of confidence that come with putting a price on your work, right? As women and as people in general in the corporate world, I would advocate for everyone to know their worth. You should be able to calculate the worth of your time down to the hour level, if possible. And you should be able to speak for it when it's time to ask for what you need, right? Or what you deserve in terms of pay. So my question here is equal pay for women in tech. What are your experiences with it? And how have you been within your organization able to advocate for women to have equal pay for equal work? Anu, would you like to go first?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. So look, you know, the mark, we know that the market, right? The pay is not equal, right? And we also know that women are terrible at asking for raises. They feel like maybe they didn't deserve it, you know, and probably imposter syndrome comes to play here as well. So my, in terms of the workplace, right? I work with many different companies. I come from a consulting background, so I work with many different companies. My take on this is, as women, right? Do your homework, right? You are worthy, but do your homework. You can't go and ask, and don't be shy to ask. You have to ask for a pay. You know, there is this mentality, oh, I did good work, someone will recognize it. Well, that was how I used to think, but it really happens that way. So firstly, be prepared for those salary negotiations. Get some negotiation skills, right? It's uncomfortable conversations. It's not easy conversations, but do your homework. So, and that's where networking is so important, right? As a woman in the tech industry, I really do think networking is super important. So finding your community, finding your tribe, being able to comfortably share some level of what is your salary, and getting that trusted partner who can share with you as well. So you know what's happening in the industry, because that is one data point for you. So, you know, you need to do the networking, and that's hard work. But I do believe that you need to do it if you're serious about your salary and, you know, knowing what your worth is. So I find that sometimes women don't do that kind of hard work. There is very few women actually who go out and do that kind of networking and do that kind of homework. So I'd definitely encourage you to do that. And actually nobody's going to come and give you a raise just like that, you know, and men are pretty pretty straightforward. They get it easier. That's a fact. And you deserve it equally when you work hard and you do good work. Your boss is, maybe there's 0.01% they're going to come tell you you're going to get the raise that you want. So do the networking, get a good idea of what the salaries out there are, and base your ask on research and data points. I always say, find the right manager. Often, if you are stuck with a manager who doesn't acknowledge your efforts, who doesn't understand what you do, in the product management space, that's a very common scenario where you actually reporting to someone who doesn't understand product management, and it already puts you at a disadvantage because they don't understand how hard it is to do the things that you do. So I always say, when you're going and finding your next job, do your homework and make sure you're working for someone you can learn from, who appreciates the role that you're in and the work that it requires, because then they know when you're doing good work. Yeah.
Very good. Funto, equal pay for women in tech?
Yeah, mine will be a little bit short, but it was a recent experience. So I took a contract role, and when they asked me how much I wanted, I just said an amount. And, it was actually lower, but obviously imposter syndrome and a woman thing. And then I got in and I saw the budget they had for that role, and I put my hands on my head. I was like, oh my gosh, I just shot myself in the foot. But you know what? I said, I'm only going to spend 1 month in this company. I'm looking for something else. And I did. And when they asked me, I just went for that amount that I saw in that role, that the other company. And so when I told them I wasn't going to be working anymore, it was like, oh, is it the money? I said, no, it's not the money. I just think I need a new experience, blah, blah, blah. But that way, it just made me understand that. So they actually placed a value on this role, but I undervalued myself by giving it was much lesser than what they were going to pay that role. It was annoying for me. So what, as Anu has said, research, that was my first time of doing a contract role. I know how much people earn on contract role, but I was scared because I had never done it before. And I thought, let me go there and just call a small amount so that they will know, like, okay, this girl is actually very useless. She doesn't know her job. Well, based on what I did, and by the time I was leaving, in fact, they didn't want me to go. They were sorry to let me go, but I had to leave because I wanted to do something else. But you know what? The worst they can say is no. And that's just the truth. That's the worst. And there's nobody that has never heard a no before. You're not human if you've never heard no before. That's not possible. So I think a lot of times as women, we should just do research a lot. What are they paying for that role in that organization? If it's either a woman or a man, we all have the same brain. And so whoever is taking that role is capable of and deserves whatever that salary, that role demands. And so that's the mentality I took from there. And since then, going forward, if I'm taking on any role, first of all, I'll research, then I'll consult with people that are men as well. I'm like, okay, this is how much, this is the role, this is how much I want to ask for. What do you think? So consult with people, research. And as I said, the worst people can tell you is no. And when they say no, don't beg, move on and move on to the next thing. So this is going to take a while to be sorted because it's a global thing. It's not just in Nigeria, it's all over the world. Women are just, I don't know, they think we belong, I don't know where, but I guess we're all trying to lift our heads out there and say we actually deserve to sit on that table. So that's my own small input. Thank you.
Thank you, Funto. Dr. Amina, I see you have your hands raised.
Yes, so thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak again. I was just reading through the chat and I realized that a number of, someone is mentioning that her school, we have like 100 students join and they're to us, yes, and I think it would be nice to recognize them and so they can maybe open their camera and we'd see what they look like and get maybe one of the panelists to actually shout out to them. Yeah, so I just didn't want to miss that opportunity of mentioning it. And then I wanted to mention one thing. in terms of the topic that we're speaking about. While in the public service, you don't look at things from the salary kind of view, because the salary is kind of like fixed, and you grow into some level. As you grow into some level, your salary is kind of fixed. It doesn't really change, right? What we normally see in the public service is your lack of being considered for opportunities and upgrades. So there are opportunities that you inherently look like the perfect match, but because you're not the stereotype, yeah, right? You're not the typical person that is expected to be in that role, or you're not a man, you know, you're hardly the first consideration. So I think this is something that I don't have an answer to how to it or how to overcome it. But I think I'm still trying to navigate and also understand the best way to go about it. But I think making your impact to be so felt that, you know, it becomes almost like no-brainer that you're the only person that can do the job would help. And also constantly checking your marketability. We just settle down into our comfort zones and think we have reached the peak. Okay, so being able to check, you know, sometimes just apply for jobs, you know, find out what is required, check what you see. Look at Defunto's lovely story about, you know, she did it not really understanding, you know, what you're worth sometimes until you just reach out, and then you would see. And if you're that kind of person that wants more, I think keep trying. Don't limit yourself to where you are right now. Yes, people will call you ambitious, even over ambitious. But then what are we if we don't have ambition? We're not living. As long as you're living, you should have ambition. If you don't have ambition, then go back and sit down in your house and fold your arms. But even there in your house, you have the ambition to remain, for example, the only wife or the most wife by your husband. So a human being without ambition is like dead as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Amina. And I forgot to mention in the beginning of the call, within the housekeeping sort of thing, we will be done in roughly 7 minutes, and then we can open it up for, I see a few raised hands, and also acknowledge the school so that we don't lose our chain of thoughts in the responses that we're giving, because we do want to give the school the time to also give us feedback on what they have learned. So it's important for us to finish the conversation and then have the forum open for them to provide us that feedback and for us to show our acknowledgement of their presence. And again, like Dr. Sambo said, in the public sector, I can't imagine that things like trainings and the rest can go to men who are easily aware of those trainings or are pursuing going for them, right, Farida? And it might not be pay per se, but those type of opportunities where they can just go and sign up for courses and present the bill to the office, and you as a woman are thinking, maybe it's too much, I don't want to go and ask for a lot of money, and they will say it's not in the budget, but the man will just go and like register for a course in Harvard or something and just bring the bill to the government office and have it signed off on with that confidence. So I can imagine those type of scenarios might pop and it might affect women. But even as Funto said, for us, there are so many in the private sector, there are so many challenges when it comes to negotiating what you're worth. For me, I recently went for a speaking engagement in Lagos, and after the speaking engagement, we were having conversations at, like by the tea place with all the other people that spoke. And not just a man, but another woman, they were talking to me about, so what are your rates and how do you charge for these things? And I was like, in my mind, what? Like, I was just happy to be invited. I didn't realize that they were paying for this. Like, they paid you to come and speak. I was so embarrassed by my lack of knowledge that, or fear, because when I got the invitation and it said, oh, okay, a woman doing this, come and speak and be part of this panel on a stage. I did it and I was excited, and only for me to find out that they were paying people to come and do that thing. And I thought the opportunity in itself was value for me. The recognition that I should be there is valuable in itself. And that is part of those limiting beliefs that women have. Like when men are asked for these type of opportunities, the first thing they ask is, what's in it for me? I went there, I paid for my hotel, paid for my flight. I was so happy to sit on the stage and speak, only for me to find out that all these other guys pocketed money for it. It's like, like, what was I thinking, right? And I went online, I saw that a lot of women have gone through this, where they've done things like this, speaking engagements, and not really billed for their time, or not even, they were not even made aware that they could bill for their time. So these are things we need to speak about as well. You know, you ask if it's, once you're invited, is it a free speaking engagement or is it a paid engagement? Sometimes we're too excited that we're invited to certain spaces that we don't, you know, make such inquiries. And that's not being greedy or money hungry, it's being professional, right? If the organization created a budget for this, that means they thought there was value, a monetary value in the talents that they're inviting. So, and also when it comes to advocating for it in the workplace, there are things like salary bands, right? In the private sector, you find out that, let's say, for a software developer role, there's a salary band that starts from $60,000 to $120,000 or $150,000, right? And you find that it's pretty industry standard. People just Google that and they can find that out in certain organizations. So when women come, and I've been in interview panels like that, I've been in interview panels like that where some women would come, they've done the research, they've seen the band, but they just feel like, oh my God, who am I to ask for $100,000? It's kind of like what Funto said about, you know, the salary scale, and then she realizing that, oh, she really lowballed herself. But this is where what everyone on this panel has mentioned about being confident in your work, documenting your work. If you're in tech, there are various spaces where your work can be visible. It's not something that's just on your CV. You can always refer to your achievements and stand for the value of work that you have. I have had to push for people to get raises because they're afraid to ask for a raise, right? They're thinking, I'm comfortable, I'm paid okay, right? But that is not your value, because I'm hiring guys and they're asking for, say, 70, 80, and they're not shy about it and they're getting it. So you shouldn't think that just because this is comfortable for you, this looks like big money, it's enough. It might not be your value. And we need to recognize our value and understand what we're worth and always speak for what we're worth. So, I think we've come to the end of discussing some of the issues around breaking the bias on this very lovely afternoon of International Women's Day, March 8th. And if there's any of the panelists that want to say or add something, this is the time. Before we open up for questions, you can start putting your questions in the chat, and we will also hope that the representative of the school would speak up. Can you put your name so that we know who would be on video, on camera, sorry, from the school? Any last thoughts, Funto?
Well, I mean, the only thing I can say is that a lot of women, we struggle with the imposter syndrome. I think that's the underlying thing that affects our ability to negotiate for more, to speak to be able to actually have a voice and just be more confident in ourselves. So, and there was one thing that Anu mentioned, I forgot. She said that women, we don't support each other enough. In fact, it's as if we compete with each other, and that's not good at all. And I think we really should start to do that. We just say it, oh, women support women, but we really don't. And we need to really start to do that more than ever before. I mean, I don't have answers to that. I don't have a solution, but I think it's just, for example, having this kind of thing that we've done today, not just limiting it to International Women's Day, but actually having this thing happening where we're consciously pulling each other up especially women, helping each other because women, we really have a lot to offer. And I think our strengths also lie in each supporting one another. So thank you for this opportunity to speak here today. It's been quite good talking with other ladies on this panel, and I've benefited a lot as well. So thank you, Nora, too, and thank you, everyone. Dr. Sambo, Farida, Adno, thank you.
Can I take it on from where Funjo stopped, please?
Sure.
Okay, so just in terms of last minute talks, right? Can you hear me? I think there was something about, okay, not me being too heard.
No, we can. I think it's her side because we could hear it.
So I think it's very important about women supporting women. And I always say, I don't look at it as competition. The space is so large that even all the women in the world cannot take all the opportunities that are out there. So a typical example is in setting up this particular celebration for the International Women's Day, and I think it's key to mention. So Nuratu has already started the SheMentors initiative and has been doing a number of talks with other women, empowering them, creating networks, and a host of others. And I just started to think about it. And I reached out to her and I said, oh, look, I want to do this and that. This was some time back. And she gave me a lot of advice quickly. Oh, you can do this, I'm doing this. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? You see? So the mindset is not, and apparently I was thinking as She4Tech. So even coming to the name, it kind of sounds the same. The first thing she will be saying, oh, this lady is taking my idea. She wants to do what I'm doing. I will not be relevant. But we kept on discussing it. We were able to find our differences, how we're unique and things like that. And we actually said, let's come together and do something. And when I saw the date was in March 8th, I was struggling to even put an event together. Working with the government, my time is very, difficult to plan and all that. And then she just stepped in and said, let's do it. And she did a lot of the planning, reached out to everyone, and here we are. So this is just to say, yes, when we help each other, when we come together, the world is at our fingertips. I'll just shut up now because I know people want to engage as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Farida?
I think I'll just say we should keep doing what we're doing. It's important to mentor women, and also we can, with technology, you're always evolving. The sky's your limit. We have a lot of women in key positions. What CFO of Microsoft, Amy Hood. She's actually very instrumental. She was instrumental in the whole Office 365 transition. She was instrumental in Skype, Yammer acquisition. There's Susan Wojcicki, who's also the CEO of YouTube. There's also Gwynne Shotwell, who's actually CEO of SpaceX, which is this new satellite. I'm sure you've all heard about it. So basically, the sky's the limit. As a woman, you can achieve anything and you can get wherever you want to get in life. Just, ignore the bias, the stereotype. You can rise above it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Farida. And I think lastly, Anu.
Yeah, maybe let me just add on supporting other women, right? And I think for me, what I've realized is when sitting in a meeting or a boardroom, it's nice to be aware and just listen in on those conversations. And you'll often find there's a woman who's not speaking in the room. And then you want to create the space for them, encourage them to speak, think about how you would do that, what words you would use. So that's a challenge I have for all of you ladies. When you are in whatever team environment, company environment, be aware of other women. Think about what space they're in and encourage them to speak. Give them their space, and you can do that, right? Especially those in leadership positions. If you're not doing that, you're not setting a good example. So give them the space, let them speak, give them the opportunity to do that. Then the other thing that I just want to leave with you, leave a message with you is that know your strengths. right? And we all can't be excellent at everything. And I think sometimes we expect us to be, right? I want to be good at everything, but you know what? No, rather know your strengths. And if you are working on something, pair with someone who complements your skills, because then you'd build an amazing team. So I'm also pretty passionate about building diverse teams. And in order to do that, you need to know your strengths, right? And you need to be aware that I can't aim for everything. I know what my strengths are, and I'm going to bring other women into the team who complement my strengths. So yeah, maybe think about that a bit and look at building good, diverse teams. And that's something that I'd encourage other women to do as well. Thanks so much for the opportunity. I've absolutely enjoyed being here.
Thank you so much to everyone. Now we move on to the chat. Are there questions in there? I know Mariam Idris Usman wanted to speak. You can unmute yourself now and share your thoughts, while Dr. Sambo, you would highlight the school when she's done. Right.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Morning or noon.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's really nice to be part of this conversation. I'm not really in tech. I'm a pharmacologist by background, but I think a lot of the issues that you've mentioned kind of resonate with me. For example, looking at the imposter syndrome, I was actually having a discussion with a colleague, and it turned out, she's a public health scientist, and it turned out that her PhD was on this topic. And, it's definitely something I'm going to share with her, because she did a lot of work on imposter syndrome for women. But I think a lot of times when we find ourselves in the work environment, as women, there's so many issues that come in. Apart from being a woman, you're also so many other things. For example, your mother, we have the imposter syndrome that affects us. And there's also, especially if you find yourself working in diaspora, there's also the issue of intersectionality. For example, all the issues that happen to a woman, happen to you. There's also the race issue, there's the religion issue. So there's a lot of all these intersectionality, which, for a man, for example, if I often say to, using myself as an example, I'm a woman, I'm a Black woman, I'm a Muslim woman. Yes, there are other men who might share the same experiences as me or carry the same, I would say, stereotypes, but in a way, a man doesn't really have to wear his religion on, they have to say that, for example, that I'm a Muslim but as a woman, you feel like, each time you try to do something, sometimes you just feel like, there was a time when I went to an interview, and, the interview was for a postdoc, and I did my presentation, and I could see a lot of nods. And for one of the professors on the team, I straight away knew I wasn't going to get the job, because when it came to asking questions, at a postdoctorate level with a pharmacology degree, in pharmacology experience, he was asking me questions about enzymes and things like that. And you just feel like these things come into play. And as women, we just need to have these open discussions, share our experiences, learn from each other, and see how best we can support each other to basically make the best of any given situation that we find ourselves, and also fight for our rights and our rules in wherever we find ourselves. That's what I wanted to share, intersectionality.
Thank you very much for that very relevant point, Mariam. Dr. Sambo, who is the representative for the school, and if we can see them?
Apparently, I think we've lost them.
Uh-oh.
The representative of the school, if you're here, can you please, it's actually a non-formal setting. It's like a group of women doing things together.
Okay.
Can you, if you can hear me, can you please unmute and share your video so we can see you? I don't see them as part of participants.
We lost them.
Oh.
Yeah, we've lost them. So we can move on to more comments and questions, I believe.
Any more
Yeah.
comments? Don't be shy. This is a very safe space. You can come and no question is wrong. And no comment is shied away from. We're open to everything. Dr. Kende, what you were saying something? Okay, we have Halima. Halima Yaya Abubakar. Okay.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good day, everyone. Happy International Women's Day. This is a very inspiring platform. I just want to commend all of you, the hosts of this event, for doing a very good job. And also the panelists, you have mentioned very vital points to take home. But what I want to add is women in STEM need to do a lot of sensitization. Yeah, and advocacy. You know, you need to go into schools, talk to the girl child, you know, inspire them, give them opportunities, tell them how they can make it using platforms like this, because all of you are doing well in your fields. So I think we should have a bigger platform to reach out from different states, go to primary schools, secondary schools. We have very, very intelligent children. So I think we should do more on the sensitization aspect. Thank you. But well done. I'm glad I joined.
Can I take that, Nuratu?
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, just to add quickly, thank you so much for the comment. The She4Tech initiative actually reaches out to students in secondary school, senior secondary school. We've started with, we've done 3 schools in Kano in partnership with the ecosystem there in Kano. And we're now embarking to see if we can do 100 more schools in Nigeria. So 3 from each state and the rest in the federal capital. We're soliciting for partners. So whether you have a formal platform or you as an individual, we need people that can help us reach out. We don't have contact in all the states, but if you have a contact or you can introduce us to a contact who would give us access to the school, we're ready to partner and do career talks and mentor these young people that are going to decide the future of our country. So while we do this, we're actually using this platform, and Loretta, I hope I'm speaking for you as well. So the SheMentors initiative and the She4Tech initiative, the She4Tech actually focuses on technology, because technology is in all sectors of everything, the careers. So we're trying to get youth to not only go into careers in technology, but to also use technology for good. So please, our social media handles have been shared on the chat. I'll reshare them. Reach out to us on social media. We need all you amazing ladies also doing great things in your own platforms to join us so that we can be stronger together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I know we're at time, and a few of us had booked the 1.5 hour as our time to commit to this, which is very appreciative. And like Dr. Sambo said, there are already initiatives on ground that cater for the next generation of tech what do they call them? Tech individuals, right? Both male or female. We all have commitments to mentoring others and sharing our time and our knowledge. This recording would also be available later for you to share with whoever needs to learn from it. And again, remember that you can impact the bottom line through process change, through business change, through partnering, through networking. You don't have to just code to be in the tech space. You can create impact by critical thinking and problem solving. And we appreciate your time here. Thank you so much. And with that, we're at the end of this session. Funto, Farida, Dr. Sambo, thank you so much. Happy International Women's Day, and let's keep
Happy
in the
International Women's Day.
vibes.
Happy International Wednesday. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm
for
happy.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.